Hello, I'm Francesca, and this is your astrology energy forecast for April 2025. And shoo, we made it through March. I'd be curious to know how March was for you. My March was pretty full, pretty intense, but also understanding that all that intensity, everything coming up was to help shift, let go, transform to then up level. Was it easy? Was it hard? It it was what it was, and deeply appreciative for all that it brought to the surface, even though at the time there may have been some tears. So tears are good to help release, right? Everything has its reason and its purpose. All right. That said, I think previously in another video I said, April is going to be much smoother than March for sure. And then by May, things are really, you're going to have that clarity and things are really going to pick up in the best of ways. All right. So first, I'm just going to touch on some main transits that, from my perspective, are pretty potent. And then I pulled some cards. You're going to laugh because it's hilarious. As always, there are no coincidences, only synchronicities. And as always, take what resonates, leave the rest. Trust your instincts. You are your best guide. All right. So April 7th, we have Mercury going direct in Pisces. Then on the 12th, we have Venus going direct in Pisces. Such a relief. We will be in the shadow period for a little bit yet, but things have definitely shifted. And we will be moving onward and upward. On the 12th, we also have the Libra full moon, and Venus also rules Libra. So I'm very excited to see what unfolds for this juicy full moon. On the 19th, we have the sun entering Taurus. So happy birthday to all Taurians, including. On the 27th, we have the Taurus new moon. So that will be, I think, pretty potent too. So I'll be curious to see how that unfolds. I'm pondering doing specific perhaps readings for the new moon and the full moon. Let me know in the comments if you would be interested. You can just type new moon or full moon or reading, something along those lines. Just pull some cards, tune into the energy, see what kind of juiciness we have in store. And then on the 30th, Venus enters Aries. So planets leaving retrograde, going direct. Once again, retrogrades are all about going within, integrating, looking at those things that no longer serve us to help us in our own growth and evolution. So embrace the change. Otherwise, it could get super dicey. All right. When I looked at the month as a whole, there were some dates that popped out that would be good for love and relationships. And relationships in any, whether it's a work relationship, a friendship, and especially love. And so those dates for April are the 6th, the 8th, the 20th, and the 30th. And that's just me looking at the astrology and the different, planetary motions and dances and things going on. So 6th, 8th, 20th, 30th for love, relationships. And then for work, two dates kind of popped out, the 16th and the 18th. So now with Mercury going direct, communication clearing up, getting clarity from these planets that were in retrograde for a bit. Those 2 days look like maybe picking up projects that maybe you had set aside or put a pin in. So it looks like I said that those are really going to pick up, and you should have some really good forward movement by the time May begins. All right. So now, as always, I, do my little ritual, ask for, the appropriate cards for support, insights, etc. What is in the highest good for those watching? And the first card literally jumped out, like did a little flip, little pirouette in the air, was the sun, which I think after so much retrograde, the sun is a very welcome card. Um, What's interesting about the sun is that in many cultures, the sun is traditionally masculine, the moon is traditionally feminine, right? And so we have brother sun, sister moon. But there are some cultures where the sun is represents the feminine, but the feminine in her full empowered stance. And so I thought that was super intriguing that this card popped up, especially as Venus leaves retrograde and goes direct, because now she's going to really be standing once again in her full empowered self. um what else about the sun? Oh yeah, to me the sun, there's always like this essence of play, there's a rekindling, there's a passion, shining the light. And so once again, coming out of two retrogrades, and retrogrades are going in, it's like you're in a cave, you're in the womb, you're that caterpillar in that mushy gooey, state, and then stepping out into the butterfly. And so I just find that the card couldn't be more perfect as we are now stepping more into the light, shedding some of those things that held us back, having looked at, shadow pieces, maybe some wounds that we worked with during the retrogrades, all beautiful, supportive things. So then I moved on to another deck, and ah, once again, I could not make this up if I tried. Like, I wish that I were that cool. And the first card that, once again, it actually popped out and flipped over as I first began to shuffle was the sun. Double sun. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so this really is super supportive for you to really shine your light. March was, wow, huge. We had been building up. We had, the Mars retrograde, then Venus and Mercury. We had major planets changing, Neptune. Oh my goodness, so much stuff. Eclipses, equinox. We aren't the same as we were when we entered all of this, in the best of ways. I know that it may not perhaps seem like it, or may not be obvious, but there may be some subtleties to how you hold yourself now, to how you move in the world. And like I said, it could be super subtle, and you may not be necessarily consciously aware of it, and may not be for another month or so. Totally fine. Wherever you are is perfect. But just trust that we're in a whole new like playing field now. And this is so amazingly supportive to me. Two sons, like, green light, shine your light, go ahead. Creativity, amazingness. Then the next card that came up was the Page of Air. And to me, anything that has to do with air sign swords is about communication. And so, Page, there's a freshness, there's a newness, new messages, links so well with Mercury, right? As Mercury being the planet of communication. So, where there may have been misunderstandings before or confusion, to me, this is all about getting the clarity, also new creative projects. Once again, coming out of retrogrades, you have two suns, you get the clarity, you have that rekindled passion, you have that your creative juices may be flowing. Because from my perspective, when you're in a retrograde, we use our creative energy then to go within and to do all that work that we need to do. So now we've done that work, we can now channel that amazing creative energy that we all have, that river of creative juice. We can now start to focus on those new projects or things that we put a pin in. Super awesome. Then the next card, another major arcana, the Emperor. And the Emperor to me is standing in your authority, right? It can represent many different things, but with the other cards that came up, it's about, I think, recognizing your own autonomy and your own authority. And so because I'm a little curious mouse, I was like, okay, well, what's under the Emperor? And another major arcana, the High Priestess, which is all about intuition, which is the highest authority. So we have two super high authorities, right? And it's also the balance of masculine and feminine, right? So we have the Emperor, you know, authority, legal matters, very like structured. And then we have the intuition, this divine feminine, and they just pair perfectly together. And once again, this is, I think now a lot of people owning their inner authority and really trusting your intuition. And so then, before I get to my next little piece, I did pull one last card because I was like, this deck is calling me. Let's see what juice we have here. And this card that jumped out again, because that's the way things roll in my house, is Leap. And the little saying is, you go first, the universe will catch you. And so if there has been something, maybe you've been waiting for a sign or you weren't sure about something, to me, this is your sign. Give yourself permission. You are the ultimate authority. Linking back to that Emperor and that High Priestess, trust your instincts, trust your intuition. We all have it. You know on some level. And perhaps cultivating a practice where you can get really still, or everybody receives information differently, those intuitive hits. So I invite you to just feel into at some point, if you so choose. Once again, if it doesn't resonate, let it go. Maybe you already know, you're master at your own intuition. Perfect. But if sometimes you're not sure, use the first couple weeks of April to be like, oh, well, how do I get information? How do I know things? Sometimes it's just an immediate like, no, or ooh, yes. Or maybe you hear something, maybe it's something in nature. So a lot of times in nature, in my backyard, I love to sit, I do my little morning meditation, etc. And sometimes I'll have one of my cardinals, not mine, but mine, because it comes to visit me. And so I'm like, yeah, okay. But that's after I already know. To me, that's one of those, got it. So however that works for you, fabulous. So April, a lot calmer than March for sure. A lot more movement, rekindling that passion, shining your light. You are a light that the world needs so very much, and trusting yourself and giving yourself permission to live the life that you want and to shine your light how you choose to do so. All right. Thank you so much for watching. So many blessings. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you already haven't. Share it with the world. Help spread the love vibes around the globe. And until next time, more love vibes to come. Ciao.